Brad, I know you all have been without Jamari Brown for a while, but with Kelvin opting out, the other young corners that you've played this year, how have you seen those guys progress, and who do you kind of anticipate getting a larger role on Saturday?
Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to, have to use a couple of guys. Obviously, it's good to have Eck out there, and he knows how to handle himself, and have guys like Sed Dort and Carrington Valentine's played well, and MJ's played. Jamari's still progressing. Back from a little bit of a ding, so it'll be a little bit by committee. You'll probably see multiple guys out there, but we'll be ready.
Josh?
Brad, I asked Eddie this yesterday about the offense, but on the defensive side, when you just look at the last 2 weeks, the difference between the first and the second halves, is there any commonality there between what was going on in each of those games, or was it different things that you saw as far as things kind of breaking down? I mean, it went a little better against Florida,
I don't know if you would say in Alabama either half was great for us. So no, that coming out of halftime in that Florida game, what really hurt, we got 3 penalties in a row, and some of them are just playing football. On JJ's, we would have had a sack. It would have been second and long, but unfortunately, the hands got a little bit high, and then Looney makes a nice play on first down, and they're in the midst of a tackle. It's hard for those big guys. A helmet's right there in his stomach. I guess his hand, grazed. I haven't seen the TV copy. Must have grazed the face mask or something. And then we get the PI. So it's boom, boom, boom right down the field. So that stung a little bit. But I thought the guys competed real hard in the second half. We forced a second turnover in that second half, which we needed. Forced a missed field goal. So, I don't know if it's a first half, second half thing. We've played, sometimes we've played a game where it's good in the first, bad in the second, or vice versa. What we need to do is just play good, solid 60 minutes.
John Hale?
Brad, it's always disappointing when a guy gets a significant injury, but how especially hard was it for JJ, considering how well he was playing and the potential you guys keep talking about with him?
Obviously disappointing, and really most disappointed for JJ. He's come so far up to this point. It's going to be a bump in the road for him, but he's going to come back. He's a really tough kid. Comes from a great family. He'll endure and come out the other end stronger for it. He's got a lot of support system here. Both in teammates, his family, his coaches, guys that have gone through significant injuries before. I've already talked to him, and we talked about the process. And he's going to attack it just like he's attacked. The game itself and progressing his craft, and then hopefully we get him back sooner than later.
And then how do you feel about the depth at that position now without him?
I mean, obviously we're a little bit thin, but there's a lot of that's kind of this season. Everybody knows that at any certain time you can get thin at a position, and so we just have to do a good job, of trying to get some bodies rotated in, and we got to play. Got to play a good game. We've got to play well. We've got to play consistent out there at that position, and it's senior night for Boog, and so I expect him to rise up and have a good game, and the other guys to play for all these seniors.
Derek?
Brad, obviously still one game left, but kind of when you look at the season up to this point, where do you kind of see the biggest growth that you think the defense made this year?
I think they found their identity a little bit. We talked about at the very beginning of the season, about every team's different, and every team's got different leaders. Every team's going to deal with different adversity. Obviously, this year was a season with a lot of unique circumstances and a lot of adversity that they've had to overcome, physically, mentally, emotionally. And to start the season like we started defensively, with those tough two first games, didn't play our best. I think they fought back, and then, we played pretty good football there for a while, and then maybe hit another little bit of a lull. But I thought, effort-wise, the last 2 weeks may not have, the scores may not always look the best, but I didn't, for the most part, I thought most of the guys, strained to the end, especially the older guys. And they showed a lot of great leadership, even last week, on that last drive, those guys, wanted to be in. And, when you're trying to get some of those younger guys some playing time, they're standing there on the sideline itching, to make sure that we keep Florida out of the end zone there on that last drive.
Josh?
Brad, where does Jordan ride at with just his health this week, and where with Vito maybe needing to step up a little bit more in that hybrid role? Just kind of how nice has it been? I know we've talked about his versatility before, but just having a guy like that who can kind of bring a couple of different things scheme wise.
Yeah, Vito's gonna play a big piece in this game plan. He's throughout the season he's grown every week, and that's been a big part of this year, is trying to see the growth of some young guys. And Vito's taking steps every week. JJ Weaver really progressed throughout the season, and Vito's going to have to step up big time. We talked about the depth there at the outside backer position, and so Vito can play that medium for us. Jordan's been battling all season. Been really proud of him. In terms of his wrist is a little bit sore, and when you're on an edge defender, you're trying to strike blockers and hold edges. It gets a little bit hard, but he's pushed through it throughout the season. So again, we're gonna need a big game from him as well. Between him and Boog, they can rotate there at the jack.
Anybody else? John Long?
Brad, you talk about the players undergoing a lot of adversity. You coaches have gone under a lot of adversity this year too. You yourself, you've got a wealth of professional experiences. Where does this year rank in terms of difficulty, not only with challenges, but also in teaching opportunities for your players?
Yeah, it's got to rank up there at the top. There's, two seasons that sort of stick out. Obviously, this is the number one, and then my first year in Indy, when Coach Pagano got diagnosed, that was and obviously a really unique year. And so, but this one's been the hardest, emotionally. There have been obviously a lot of teaching moments, a lot, to try to help the guys go through, growth-wise, and for me personally, a lot of looking inside myself, and seeing where I need to grow, seeing, from a priorities perspective, anytime something happens, with, like the situation with Coach Larman, it just makes you really evaluate, where you put your priorities. And, the thing that he taught us all, you know, it's about people and it's about relationships. And, you know, the wins and the losses, those things, they come and they go. The records, they come and they go. But it's the relationships and it's the people. And that's how you make true impact. And so as difficult a season as this has been, you know, you always try to say there's some silver lining, and, you know, there is, you know, for us to grasp, you know, onto that, you know, that fact that there's more to life than what everybody may think about you or how you're perceived, but it's about true relationships and the depth of those relationships. So I've been blessed to sort of have that affect me this year and force me to look at how I view things.
Yeah, speaking of relationships, on a different note, have you talked to Coach House recently? How's he doing? We haven't heard from him in a while.
Coach House and I text, you know, back and forth. I have not, you know, communicated with him in the last couple of weeks. But, you know, the last time we talked, he was doing well.
Jeff Drummond.
Hey, Brad, I was wondering, is it kind of a challenge in your preparation for a matchup with a team like South Carolina that's had its own share of adversity and things going on? They figure to have nothing to lose in this game, a lot of new faces kind of playing for their offense. How do you approach that kind of situation?
It does make it provides a challenge in that there is that unknown piece, and as you said, you know, when there's, you know, I don't think there's nothing to lose, but they've got a new young quarterback who's, you know, gained confidence by playing essentially the last game and a half. So he's going to come out with something to prove. All their players are going to come out, you know, ready to roll. We know that. They're going to come in here. They're going to want to end the season on a high note. Obviously, they've gone through their own adversity throughout their season, and that's life. Like, everybody's going to, and that's what we try to preach to our guys. Everybody's going to go through, you know, their own adversity and, you know, their own struggles and their own problems. And to think if you're the only one going through it, you've got your head in a hole. You know, that everybody's got to deal with things, and it's the ones that look that adversity sort of in the face, you know, and move on, you know, tend to be the ones that are more successful. And so we're gonna take the challenge, the little bit of the unknown, you know, what they want to do offensively. Obviously, you know, the two quarterbacks are different style quarterbacks. You know, Doty's going to be athletic, you know, so you can expect a little bit more sort of the Q run game. You know, we've got to be prepared for anything.